And as you know, I will try to cut away the participants, but what I cannot cut away or cut out is if you open your microphone and say something, then your voice will be on the recording. So if you want to contribute and do not want me to record your voice, please use the chat. And so everything should be fine. Now, our last interaction, I guess, dates back about 3 weeks. So the question is there anything that I should know? Is there questions that you should have that we should address? Take your time, use the chat, open your microphone, ask if there's anything that I could clarify. Either all of you are typing incredibly slow, which I do not assume. Here's something. Will last week's slides be uploaded to Elias? Yeah, I have to check with Julia. At least I have received them, but I'm not really sure whether I have received them to upload them on Elias or to upload them or as a notification of what has been happening last week. Let me check with Julia, and in case she agrees, I will upload the slides. This is clear. However, hold on. Let's look at Elias for a second. I thought I saw something. Yeah, sure. Okay, if you let me share my screen with you, then I'll show you where it actually all is, and so everybody can see this. So you should now be able to see my browser. This is the International Innovation Management 2 website, and the lecture. We have down here webinar guest lecture, and in the webinar guest lecture, what you see is also a recording of the guest lecture, and down here should be the slides. Yes, here they are. So that should actually do it, I think. And now let me switch back to where we were. I think this is, frankly, we have hidden that somewhere, not in the lecture part, but very, very, very down below. So this is where you find all the stuff. Good. Anything else? But thank you for this question, and of course, thank you for your interest in alternative proteins and the niche strategies that incumbents actually have. Good. Any other question that pertains to what we have done, etc.? If not, then why don't we just continue? Now we enter section or part 10, and it's about search strategies. You will wonder what search actually has to do with innovation, and you'll see in a minute. So the learning goes, as always, in the first slides of the different parts. By the end of the discussion that we have here, you will develop an understanding of different search strategies. You will be able to use and argue using the terminology for different search strategies, you will be able to do this. And you will be able to identify different actors, different players involved in search. You will be able to do this as well. You will have an understanding of what local and distance search is. And you will have an understanding of the concept of space that does not only relate, or does not necessarily, or maybe most parts does not relate to geographical space. And then you will learn about mechanisms that enable search, and you will learn about different search strategies. And I think this will be a bit of an abstract part, but the nice thing in abstract parts of the course is that they're broadly applicable, and they help you in understanding certain activities of companies that you may have had problems understanding. Okay, good. Now, let's continue with the introduction. Well, what we have seen up to now is that there is multiple sources where opportunities, where innovation, inspiration can originate from. And if we are open and honest to one another, well, it's not in short supply. So ideas, inspiration is out there. The question is, how do we make sense of this potential input with limited resources? How can we see what is important, what is relevant for us as a firm, as an inspiration? Because what we actually know is that no single firm can actually cover all the bases and can follow up all the leads. And what you do not want is to fall into a attention allocation problem. So the question is, where do you put your attention? So you need some strategies to guide you there. And you need a strategy to guide your search process. And search processes are processes where you try to learn something from your environment, from your internal, where you try to learn about your internal knowledge landscape, about the opportunities that are there. Where you try to learn from the outside of your company. So we can think of innovation as a search problem, and search is the controlled, and it's a proactive process of attending to, examining, and evaluating new knowledge. So search, we do not search for some physical entity, but we search for knowledge. Product search, if we look at the Katila Ahuya paper that comes up later again, sorry. Product search is an organization's problem-solving activity that involves the creation and recombination of technological ideas. So search is also the combination and recombination of ideas, of old and new, etc. So when we think of innovation, that innovation is translating knowledge into some sort of value, so then search is the process of how do we obtain this knowledge that is finally then fueling this innovation process. Okay, so a very abstract idea that innovation is a search process. We search for knowledge and try to apply this knowledge. When we search or build an idea on how to search or build a search strategy, we have key questions. What do we actually search for? When? So in which part of the innovation process do we actually search? Who are the different players that are involved in the search process? As I already mentioned, it can be inside of the company and it can be outside of the company. And where do we actually search? Where do we actually search is the idea of space, and maybe it is geographic, but it is more also an abstract notion of technological space or scientific space, if you like. So knowledge space. How do we search? What different mechanisms do we use in enable search? And all these items, all these questions should be addressed in a search strategy when you conceptualize this. Now, let's look at what do we actually search for. And we can define the search, what we search for, by the type of innovation. So what kind of innovation type do we actually search for? Do we search for product innovation, inspiration? Do we search for process innovation, business process innovations? Or do we search for business model innovation? We haven't really talked about business model innovation so far. We have defined innovation based on the Oslo Manual of 2018. And business model innovation there was, as you might recall, defined as some sort of combination of product innovation, business process innovation, etc. But sometimes you need different models, different conceptualization. I introduce you to two different conceptualization, how we can see business model innovation. The first one originates from Matzler and collaborators, and they say business model innovation is an activity system that is new to the industry in which the firm operates. And by working through a very known, basically a textbook example of a business model innovation, they show that the business model innovation relates to 4 or 5 components of a business model: the positioning, the product and service logic, the value creation logic, the profit formula, so how do you make profit, and the marketing and sales logic. And they show this by looking at a very prominent business model innovation. They show this by dissecting the Nespresso business model. They show what is the new product and service logic. The new product and service logic, of course, is to sell relative to the time where there was no Nespresso, is to sell capsules of coffee for individual brewing at home. What value does this create? Of course, it creates the value of having fresh coffee, good coffee, like barista quality coffee at home, which was pretty hard to achieve prior to Nespresso. But it also has the value of creating or giving the consumer a variety of different tastes. So before Nespresso came around, you purchased, depending on where you live, in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, you probably purchased coffee by the pound packages. If you're from Italy, you typically bought it in half-pound packages in the supermarket. And now you purchase like bars of 10 capsules, and you can, of course, have at home different tastes, different flavors, different strengths of the coffee. And so they do not only sell you coffee, they sell you variety. And this is, of course, what consumers liked. And they have a new profit formula. And the profit formula is, of course, we will talk about this later, is the machines are relatively cheap, but the coffee that they sell, if you calculate it by the pound or by half a pound, it is incredibly expensive. So they make up for the cheap machines, rather cheap machines, with higher priced, higher margins on the coffee. That's the profit formula, more or less. And marketing and sales is completely new, completely, as I said, prior to Nespresso, you bought your coffee at the supermarket. And this is where Nespresso was not available in the first, say, 15 years of its existence. It was not available in the supermarket. Of course, it changed now, but this is different. They had boutique coffee shops in high-level shopping areas. So, or you could purchase Nespresso capsules through the internet. So completely new. Marketing was new. Coffee with a high-level actor, or advertising with a high-level actor. George Clooney was unheard of prior to that. So a new marketing and sales logic, and this all played into the positioning of Nespresso as some sort of luxurious coffee. Good. So you can look at different businesses, different business models, and try to explain what is the product and service logic, what is the value creation logic, what is the profit formula, and what is the marketing and sales logic, and what is the positioning of the firm. So this will help you to look at business model innovation from a different angle. Of course, this is a little bit more rough. This is a little bit more not so fine-grained as, for instance, the business model canvas. The business model canvas would be a different model of a different conceptualization of a business model. Here is the Matzler and collaborators one. And there is another one. Well, yeah, some explanation here. There's another one. There's the Gassman and collaborators, also from 2013. The St. Gallen Business Model Navigator. The St. Gallen Business Model Navigator, as you see here, is a little bit different. It looks at the value proposition, the value chain, and the revenue model. And at the corners of this triangle is what do you offer to the customer? So the what, how is the value proposition created? How is the value created? What's the value, and who is the target customer segment? So you can dissect business models into these value, what, how, and who, and describe the value proposition, the revenue model, and the value chain. The publication that you see here, it comes in two varieties, a free one and a costly one. The free one is a working paper from St. Gallen Business School, the St. Gallen Business Model Navigator, and the Business Model Navigator you can purchase from from Amazon or any other book dealer, etc., is essentially the same thing. And I've uploaded the Sankaran Business Model Navigator for the in the Elias for you to look at. The nice thing here is, and it says it on the cover of the book, is that they describe 55 different business models. So they are not only developing a model, but they also show 55 different configurations of this model and how different business models fit into this. And each one of these 55 business models has a unique name that makes it easy or easier to recall. I think it's very tedious to go through all these 55 business models, but to give you a flavor, I have extracted a couple of them for you to get an idea of what different business models actually mean. And what should be clear from what I said now is that you can make money with your innovation through all sorts of business models. It's not only we invent something, we develop something, then we bring it to the market, we sell it, and this is the revenue that we make. This is would be a very simple way, but look at different one of these or several of these 55 business model patterns. So the first pattern I'd like to introduce you to you is something that we have already run into in a different context. So the add-on business model. The add-on business model changes what is offered and the value that is offered. And the core offering is priced competitively. So you have a core and you have numerous add-ons, numerous extras that you can purchase to add on to the core that you have. So the core in Ryanair would be air travel, going from the airfare from A to B. But of course, you can have numerous extras. Luggage, you can have pre-assigned seats, you can have a glass of water, some food, etc. on the fly. You pay extra, so you pay add-on. SAP, you purchase the core functionality, and then you can purchase additional modules, additional add-ons. If you remember what we said in our discussion in frugal innovation, that was also one of the strategies for frugal innovation, or to make money in frugal innovation. You build the core that is frugal, and if your customers want more, they have to purchase extra modules, add-ons, etc. So this is an add-on business model. And of course, you can think of different other companies and products that fall into these categories. The auction business model. The auction business model changes what is offered, and of course the value. Auction business model is you build a platform and you sell to the highest bidder, or to the bidder with the lowest price, depending on what you have. eBay, MyHammer is probably a Europe-wide bidding platform for craftspeople. So if you need your flat painted, you can go on MyHammer and auction out your you can auction out your room, painted, etc. So eBay, you know how that works. It's a different business model. So the auction business model, experience selling. So you're selling something, and you're selling something with a decent or with a special experience. So a consumer get a special experience. Harley Davidson, it's not a simple motorbike. Well, maybe it's a simple motorbike, but they sell also the experience of being a Harley Davidson driver. So Starbucks is a coffee shop, but on top of that, it's or was for a long period of time, a cool place to hang out. Red Bull, of course, they sell you a drink, but they sell you much more. They sell you the experience of sports, of energy, etc. So the idea is to create higher customer demand and to increase the prices. So maybe you are willing to pay a little bit more for a Starbucks coffee than you would for a comparably tasty white label coffee, etc. Maybe you're willing to pay a little bit more for a Harley Davidson than for off-the-shelf kind of other motorcycle, etc. Okay, so how do they do that? Through promotion. Red Bull, very strong in promotion with the sports, or shop outfits. This is probably Starbucks. So they sell you the experience of something. There's a flat rate. There's something like flat rate business models. Again, the business model is focused on what they sell and how and what's the value. So a single fixed fee for a product or service, regardless of the usage. First thing that comes to mind is, of course, all the streaming, most of the streaming platforms, Netflix, Spotify, you name it, it's there. It's a flat rate business model, so you're not charged by the amount of units you consume, but regardless of whether you stream a lot or you only stream little, it's the same. Freemium business model is you offer a basic version of a product, say a software, and you give this away for free. But if you have customers that want more space, different kinds of capabilities through LinkedIn, different searches, unlimited amount of messages you can send, etc., then you start charging for a premium version. And the business model is that you kind of attract consumers with the free version of it and convince them over to the premium version. So the premium version pays, the premium version customers pay for everybody else. This is why this cross-financing here, down here. Ingredient branding. Ingredient branding is really, really interesting. Ingredient branding is when you have a product or when you have a part of a product that you cannot really brand, which is built into your computer, built into your mobile phone, etc. It is hard for you to convince consumers that to purchase this. So what you need to do is you need to have a sticker, for instance, on the device that says, oh, this pen contains DuPont Teflon, or this mobile phone's camera has lenses made by Carl Zeiss, or this computer runs on an Intel CPU. So this is ingredient branding. Usually you wouldn't care, but ingredient branding helps you to convince you about the quality of the product. Okay, so another one of the 55 business model patterns. Lock-in business model. Lock-in business model is what value and how you attract or how you keep the customers. If you think, well, generally the lock-in business model is you try to lock in the customers into your world of products and services. And you do that by generating switching costs between different worlds. So assume that you are in the Apple universe, you have a Mac, you have an iPhone, etc. So you feel some sort of lock-in because everything plays nicely together. You have purchased your apps already for the Mac, etc. And that keeps you to the Mac. So switching to Microsoft, switching to Windows would be costly. Not only would you have to replace your hardware, but also your software. And sometimes also your skills, because writing on an Apple with a slightly different layout of the keyboard, etc., keeps you locked in and increases the switching cost. Now, once you have started as a kid, getting 2 or 3 kits of Lego, you're locked into Lego. You would probably not dream of switching to another, maybe even comparable toy, because you already started with Lego, and you can start building on that, purchasing from that. So other bricks are not compatible with Lego. So you started with Lego, you stick with Lego, and we can see this over generations now. So when kids start playing with the Lego that their parents, maybe even their grandparents had, that's really amazing how Lego built this lock-in business model. Pay-per-use is something completely different than the flat rate business model that we have seen a couple of minutes ago. Again, it relates to the what, the value, and the how. And pay-per-use would be something like, car sharing. Share now would be one example. You pay for the kilometer driven, or you pay for the time, depending on the payment model that the car sharing company has. And so you actually pay only for what you effectively consume. Pay-per-use, trash to cash. Again, this addresses the target group who, what is offered, what is the value, and how the value is created. Look at, for instance, to Freitag. They built bags from old lorry canvas. And so they use trash and make something valuable out of this. So your trash is my treasure in a sense. Again, this is in terms of sustainability a very valuable business model. So trash to cash can be very, very interesting. A layer player. This is an interesting business model as well. So what you have is you have how is value created and what value do you actually have. So there, a layer player is very specialized. Sometimes they only have one single service that they offer, but they roll it out into different markets, different industries, etc. So different the company that has this business model benefits from economies of scale. It can sometimes produce the service or the goods more efficiently, and it gets a special expertise that can actually result in higher quality processes. So one of these examples would be PayPal. So PayPal is a single product company, and they roll out their service, different markets, different industries. This is what they do. And they are a layer in the purchasing process. So they are a layer player. And what else do we have? We have Robinhood. I like this very much. This may not be the layer player, and the Robinhood may not yet be in your slides. When I looked at the slides again this morning, I thought, okay, layer player is nice, and Robinhood is really nice. So Robinhood business model is, again, it addresses how value is created and what is actually offered. Examples would be Tom's, the shoes, or Warby Parker. And the idea is that for each product that somebody in a rich economy, and rich here in parentheses, in quotation marks, not in parentheses, in quotation marks, purchases, one of these things is given to the people in need, typically in not so well off economies. So Tom's, for each pair of Tom's shoes that you purchase, one pair of Tom's shoes, at least this is how they started, is donated to kids in need who do not have shoes. And Warby Parker, same thing with frames with glasses here, these kind of things. Okay, so you purchase something in, and the company gives away some the same for people in need. Also, now what you have seen is that if you search for business model, this 55 business model patterns could be your search space, where you go around and then try to make up your mind which one of these business model patterns actually fit to how you want to build your business, how you want to renovate your business, how you want to rejuvenate your business. Certainly there's more. As we have seen, these business model patterns go back to the about 10 years. So maybe with the advent of stronger focus on sustainability and on circular business models, probably we could add some additional business model patterns, but I hope you understand what I mean. You can search for business model, for patterns, and get inspired by them. Now, is there question, comments up to here? Of course, when you work through the slides again, I've presented a couple examples for each one of them, but of course you can think about whether you know other companies or other business models that fall into these categories. Is there somebody, for instance, from Italy here in the group? No Italians here. Italians would with the Robin Hood, particularly when they're from southern Italy, they would think of the coffee sospeso. They would think about this: I buy one and leave one for people in need. So think about whether you have businesses, know about businesses that fall into these categories that will help you to make sense of what we do here, rather than, you know, learning by heart that Tom's is a Robin Hood business model and PayPal is a layer player, etc. Okay, so enriching what you learn here with your own experiences would be certainly nice. So again, searching for what can also be, if you search for a business model, or you search for an incremental innovation, or you search for a radical innovation. So when you search for incremental innovation, you search for knowledge that can modify existing goods, services, business processes, etc. If you search for radical innovations, you search for knowledge that is capable of generating something entirely new. And so you already get the feeling that once you go for incremental, it's different than once you go for radical. And again, we will come back to that a little bit later. And of course, usually companies have a balanced portfolio of incremental and radical innovation projects, just not to have too high a risk, which may be generated by too strong a focus on radical innovation projects. Now, let us think a little bit about exploration and exploitation. You have certainly heard these terms. Have you heard these terms? Have you run into these terms in combination? Exploration, exploitation. Have you run into those? I think it's very important that you get an idea about what this means, because then you can understand sometimes how companies behave. So the term exploration versus exploitation about 30 years ago was introduced by March into the literature and into innovation thinking. Exploration is an activity that is risky. It is variation seeking, so you increase the variety of knowledge that you have in your firm. So you try to explore areas and knowledge areas where you get different ideas from what you already have. Exploitation reduces the variety. It's more efficiency oriented. You exploit what you already have. You exploit the knowledge that you already have. So you have maybe you have one technology, and you try to exploit as much as possible what is in this technology. You have an idea, and you exploit this idea. Exploration is, you know, looking outside of what you already know, and you explore, like the word already said, says you explore new areas where you have not been before. If we want to look at other definitions, maybe other definitions help you to get a better understanding. Aguirre's defined exploration and exploitation the following way. Exploration is a technological capability broadening. You get broader as you explore what is out there. Exploitation is you get deeper into what you already know. As I said, you have a technology, you get deep into this technology. You have an idea, you get deep into this idea. Benner and Tushman say define exploration, exploitation in terms of technology search activities. Local search is exploitation, distant search is exploration. Now, the question is, what does local and what does distant actually mean? We'll come back to this. Daniels, in two papers, looks at exploration and exploitation, again, in a little bit a different way. Exploration is developing new technologies to serve new customers, whereas exploitation is you build on existing technology and you serve existing customers. So again, when you get an idea, exploration is broadening, exploitation is deepening, focusing. Right? So I hope you get this idea. And Katina and Ahuya say the degree of exploration is indicated by what they call the search scope. The broader the search, the more exploration there is, the broader the knowledge is. Exploitation is, again, coming back here to the deepening, is deep search, intensive search within a very narrow ideas, and reusing already existing knowledge. So exploration broad, exploitation deep. Now the question is, how can we relate exploration and exploitation to innovation, or to incremental and radical innovation? You will probably get the idea that exploration looks a little bit more towards radical, and exploitation looks a little bit more towards incremental innovation, building on something that you already have, using the knowledge, deeper, smaller changes, but deeper, going deeper into the knowledge is closer to incremental, and broadening up, bringing in new ideas, bringing in new knowledge. This is exploration, probably a little bit closer to radical. Exploitation is using knowledge to secure returns. Exploration is doing something different. So using and developing things that you already know is exploitation, and exploration for the long jumps, for reorientation that helps the firm to acquire new characteristics, etc. This is exploration. Exploitation, if you are too deep into one technology, that can generate path dependencies, and path dependencies mean that you're stuck with one technology, that you're stuck with one business model, if you like, and you cannot change, because either you don't see it or you do not have the capability to change it. So of course, there is a risk to exploitation. And usually we observe that firms do both things. They exploit and they explore. So they use both hands. So they are ambidextrous. So they exploit and explore at the same time. So whenever you see the term ambidexterity, that refers to exploitation and exploration simultaneously. All right. Again, when you are an automotive manufacturer and you have knowledge about the internal combustion engine, and you optimize and optimize and optimize the internal combustion engine. This is exploitation. So building on the knowledge that you already knew. However, when you are the same firm and say, okay, I'm not optimizing my internal combustion engine, but I look out there, what other options are there to drive a car, to propel a car, then this would be exploration. And of course, as you can see from everyday knowledge, from everyday newspaper articles, automotive manufacturers do both. They are ambidextrous. They exploit what they know, and they explore already what in doing something different. Okay. Any questions, comments up to here? If not, let's continue when to search. This is, a rather brief section. Typically, firms start searching for something new, for optimization. They start searching when the current set of activities, the current routines are not satisfactory anymore, when they do not provide satisfactory results. When they search locally, and local search exploitation actually doesn't generate satisfactory results. Firms are, of course, induced to search more broadly and to explore a little bit. Okay, it's not entirely clear whether the sequence is always like that, and whether companies really need the trigger of unsatisfactory results to start searching, but sometimes we see this. Of course, you can imagine search needs attention, search needs resources, etc. And when you are running into economic problems because the current routines do not provide satisfactory results anymore, you will have problems finding the resources. So it's always better to start searching before it actually happens that you get unsatisfactory results. The question always is now, who is actually involved? Knowledge, as we have already seen in the knowledge-based view of the firm, is a social process, is social. Innovation or knowledge is carried out and communicated by people. And if we say that innovation is a search process for knowledge, innovation lives where people communicate, where people carry knowledge, where people share knowledge, where people combine knowledge. Okay, So where there is interaction between people and where they interchange knowledge with each other. The interesting thing is that people interact with each other and give rise to networks. Those among you who will have the Innovation Strategy Networks course later tonight will say, okay, we already know about this, but everybody else is start thinking about networks. When people start interacting with each other, they start sharing knowledge, and not everybody shares knowledge with everybody else, but you collaborate with this partner, you collaborate with that partner, etc. And by doing so, you built a network, you built a knowledge network. And thinking in networks wasn't really new. It comes actually from sociology, although it was taken over, not really taken over, but mathematically modeled then by mathematicians, etc. But Durkheim, Simmel, Moreno already thought in terms of knowledge. So people build networks, as I said, through collaboration, through interaction, communication, etc. And networks are helpful tools to think about search. I show you here is a network. This is a network of a R&D collaboration network of Kverneland, and Kverneland is a Norwegian international agricultural machinery manufacturing firm. So they built plows, balers, etc., harvesting machinery, etc. And what you see here is each node is a researcher or a scientist or an engineer. Links between researchers, so the link between the 11K-RDE and the 11K-VDE, this one here means that these two people have collaborated with each other. The numbers do not mean anything. This is the abbreviation of the name and the DE, and the color of the node give us the country where these people are from. What we know about Kverneland is it has decentralized R&D facilities, and what we also see is, well, here, this node, always this KV here, means Kverneland, and this is an anonymous person, if you like. We couldn't identify this person, but we know that is somebody here. Now, okay, so these people talk to each other, and these people share knowledge with each other. So there's this subnetwork of the Dutch engineers. There's this subnetwork of the Norwegian engineers with a Dutch engineer in here, a Danish engineer in here. And then we have the Danes, the Swedes, and the Brits down here, and some Germans up here, and some Germans down here as well. So this is a knowledge network, and we argue that interaction, this is what we argued here, that the interaction between people is crucial for the innovation process because they share knowledge, they help each other search for knowledge, etc. And now the question is, if you look at this, where do you think are important people? Which ones are important people for the search processes within Querneland. Within Querneland network, which is spread all over Europe. So let me know. Who do you think is important? Who do you think is important? Yes, the 1 kV in Norway, although we do not know who that actually is. If you abstract from the KVs, do not look at the KVs, look at everybody else who is not KV, right? But you're right, you already got it. So look at others who are not KV. Who are not KV. Who is important? Who is not KV? Yes, the 10 a.m. in the Netherlands. This is an important person. This person has good linkages to the Dutch network. So when this person seeks information, searches for information, he or she can search here, 9 PE in Denmark. A similar position. This one is a little bit more pronounced here, but of course. And this person here is also nicely linked to the rest of the network. So this one here is important. This one here is important as well for the knowledge flow. And now let's continue. Oops, here again. So, and we call these guys, these people, we call these brokers because they can trade, if you like, knowledge from here to here or from here to here. So knowledge search processes have to go through this person. And of course, this can be tricky for the firm. This can be tricky for everybody involved. If this person here is not willing to share knowledge, if this person here is not willing to share knowledge with others. And so looking at networks can be crucial to identify crucial people within the organization, and identify potential bottlenecks. I'm not saying that this is a bottleneck, but this can become a bottleneck that hampers the search processes within the firm. Okay. So again, I'm not really sure why we have this again. It's the same, if I'm not mistaken. Right. And sometimes we call these people also gatekeepers. Gatekeepers can be people inside of the firm and who have a good view to outside of the firm. So they have a strong network inside the firm and are connected to outside of the firm. So this person could be a gatekeeper, well connected to the overall network. If, and we don't know this, this person, AM from the Netherlands, has good connections to the outside of the firm. We don't know this. But this is important. These gatekeepers are important to bring in knowledge, into the firm and disseminate this knowledge within the firm. So to facilitate the search processes that the firm carries out to innovate. Just to give you another example, Procter & Gamble had, back in 2002, the idea in a brainstorming session that it would be nice to print images on the Pringle crisps. And now you have this idea, and then you have to search for a solution. And the search for a solution would be, of course, something that you start with an office jet printer and try to print on dough or something like that. And they actually did this. So you have the idea, and then you search for a technology, for a solution to how you can make this, how you can implement this idea. That was not successful. The test office inkjet printer on dough wasn't really successful. So what Procter & Gamble actually did, they developed a technology brief, a short description of what they are actually looking for. And they had firm internal infrastructure through their connect and develop strategy to circulate this technology brief, to search other people in the firm and people who know people, etc. So contacts to find out whether somebody knows somebody who has an idea how to solve this problem. And indeed, somebody knew somebody in Bologna, in Italy, who knew a baker and a university professor who had already produced a device where he could print on food. So that was a nice move, and shows us that how search can actually work. Now, the question also is where and how to search. Where to search is, we said there is something like local search or distance search. And so we have to think about knowledge occupying a space. And we can think of search, browsing knowledge in a knowledge space. Now, how can we imagine this space? And if we have knowledge spaces, if there is space, we realize that there is space only when we have an idea of distance. Okay, so we need some idea of distance to space. Now, for instance, we could look at technology domains, industry classification, fields of science, etc., and look at spaces. Now, I just an idea. Look at the International Patent Classification. And the International Patent Classification gives you, I think, approximately 77,000 different classes, very detailed descriptions of what technology is claimed in the patent. Now, just an example. A, as you see, is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. And just look, now we zoom into A. A is human necessities. A43 is footwear. A43C is fastening or attachments for footwear. A43C1 is about shoelacing. So if you have an invention that you file a patent for that relates to shoelacing, then it's classified under A43C1. If the shoelacing had elastic laces, it's A43C102. Or if it has a button fastening, it is A43C1102. Now, you would probably say that the technology that is classified under A43C102 is pretty close to A43C1102, right? But you would say this one is closer to this one than technologies that are filed under F41. F41 is weapons. So shoelacing with elastic laces, shoelacing with button fastening is closer to each other than to weapons. Okay, so we can imagine that already there we have some sort of distance. Industrial classification. Industrial classification. So it goes from A to H as well, I believe. C is manufacturing, section C. NACE class 29 is manufacture of motor vehicles, trailers, and semi-trailers. 2931 is manufacture of electrical and electronic equipment for motor vehicles. And 32 is manufacture of other parts and accessory for motor vehicles. So these two are pretty close in terms of industries. So industries means each firm gets an industrial classification by the statistical offices based on what their main product is. So, and there is information communication. So information service activities is NACE class 63. 63.12 is web portals. And you would probably agree that manufacture of electrical and electronic equipment for vehicles is, as an industry, closer to manufacture of other parts of motor vehicles than it is to companies in the web portal industry. Okay? Again, using the industry classification here, we can get an idea of some sort of space and some sort of distance. And same thing with, of course, with fields of science, etc. So in space, there is distance. And if a search is local, the firm searches close to where it is at the moment. It searches close to its current knowledge. When a firm searches distant, it searches actually very far away from where the firm is at the moment. So the knowledge that it will find in a distant search may be unrelated to what the firm actually knows at this moment. If the firm searches locally, the knowledge will be maybe pretty related because it's pretty close. And this local search, of course, if you search only in your industry, only in your knowledge domain, etc., this decreases the likelihood of finding really novel solutions. But of course, it increases the likelihood of finding something that works because you already have this knowledge. You only modify, you only get a tiny step away from what you do. The distance search provides opportunities for more radical innovation. And now think back to exploration, exploitation. When we had the definitions of exploration and exploitation, there was one definition which said exploitation is more local search and exploration is more distant search. Maybe this helps you to get an idea of distant and local search as well as exploration and exploitation. The exploration and the distance search, however, is a bit tricky because you may not have the knowledge, the capabilities, and the skills inside of your firm yet to understand that, to understand what is out there. So what you require is heterogeneous teams that are able to translate what they find far away from your current firm's knowledge base into something that your firm can actually work with. So it's a bit tricky if you like. But again, you will see that distance search is maybe important to rejuvenate on a larger scale, in a more radical way, the product portfolio, the service portfolio that you have in your firm. Local search will help you to make the best out of, to squeeze everything out of your current knowledge base, if I may use this image. Now, how do we search? And we go for the paper by Lopez Vega and collaborators, and we develop a 2x2 matrix comprising of two search heuristics: experiential search and cognitive search. This is again a different take on search. Experiential search. Experiential search is learning by doing, trying out something. So engineers build something, try it out. Does it work? No, it doesn't. We change, etc. So it's routine development. It searches. No, you actually search, or you want instant evaluation, get immediate feedback. So you want the experience. You want to experience, does it work? Does it not work? Learning by doing is I think a good thing. Cognitive search. You start with models, you start with abstract representations. Maybe you run simulations. You try out models that use causal inference and try to figure out whether your solutions work or they don't. So you can try out solutions, you can test solutions before they're being implemented. The experiential search was learning by doing, and the cognitive search is more like learning before doing. So you start simulating, you start building models, etc., abstract representations of what you have. Okay, so this is experiential search, and this is cognitive search. And when we now look at where we search, do we search locally or do we search distantly? How do we search? With an experiential search or a cognitive search, we get 4 different combinations, 4 different search heuristics: a situated search heuristic, an analogical search heuristic, a sophisticated one, and a scientific one. So the distance, the local search, and in combination, if you search locally, experientially, so you're not venturing far off what you know, because you stick to the knowledge base, you stick to local search, and this gives you what Lopez calls a situated search path. If you search experientially, but go a little bit further, you use analogies. You have experience in one area and use this experience in a distant area. This is the distance search, okay? So this creates an analogical search heuristic. If you search locally, but in a cognitive way, so you build models, you try out virtually before you start implementing. So you test virtually, that gives you a sophisticated search heuristic. And scientific search heuristic is when you venture off the knowledge base that you have into very distant knowledge areas in the knowledge space and use models. You use models, simulations, etc. to test and search data. So this situated search path, experiential and local search. The target is to search quickly for implementable solutions to problems. So what do you expect from that? Well, you stay close to home and you try out something new based on experience, quick feedback, etc. So what you're probably getting is something add-on to what you already know, some add-on to the technologies that you have, some add-on to the information that you already have. The analogical search path, as I said, you still are in the field of experiential search. The experiential search, learning by doing, you try something out, but you venture off a little bit from quite far from the knowledge base that you have. You search for medium long-term solutions from technological unrelated and previously unexplored domains, areas in the knowledge space. So, as I said, distance search, unrelated, previously unexplored knowledge domains. So what can you get? Maybe you get new processes, new technologies to improve what you already have, existing specifications, etc. Now, let's switch to cognitive search, but stay close to home. Stay close to home, I mean, not geographically, but you may guess, I mean, in terms of the knowledge space. You stay close to where you are. But you start doing this testing with models, etc. You search for short to medium term insights into, market and industry trends that are already there because where you are already, because you search locally. What you might get, additional added value technologies for existing products. You stay close to where you are at the moment. And scientific search is cognitive and distant. You search for long-term breakthroughs in unrelated scientific fields. So you venture off and you may get disruptive technologies, new business models, etc. So again, we asked ourselves when we started this session today, what different search strategies may help us to conceptualize or help us to generate different expected outcomes, different results. So if you are a business and you want to generate new technologies, disruptive technologies, generate new business models, it does not make sense to just stay where you are, search around where you are. It's probably not that helpful. And just learning by doing will not deliver you new business models, will not deliver you disruptive technologies. For disruptive technologies, for more radical innovations, you will have to search more distantly and in a more systematic fashion, using all sorts of search technologies that you can use. So, where to search? We continue this next week. Is there any question, any comment that you have? Or doing so, though, so that you can openly ask, I